Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. And LSU continues to try to fill out the roster. Looks like there's 3-4 spots left for LSU to potentially add a little bit more talent this summer. And we know that defensive tackle has been the biggest need. And we know that, as Brian Kelly said last week, it hasn't gone great. They've had some big-time visitors in and have not been able to get those guys to commit and come to LSU. So you still have some other smaller school players that you're looking at. And I think Aiden Huntington from ULM was one of them. We've talked about him a couple times. He was a Kent State product, then went to ULM. Very productive at ULM, but undersized for the Southeastern Conference. It appears that Aiden Huntington is no longer an option for LSU. They have decided to move on from him, and potentially maybe Baylor might be a spot. Cal might be a spot that he ends up at, but not going to be at LSU. JVR Suggs, the Grand Valley State prospect, is very much still on the table for LSU. They've hosted him for a visit. Obviously, there are a lot of Grand Valley State ties here on this LSU football program, led by Brian Kelly, who went to Grand Valley State and coached there. So I think JVR Suggs may be a guy that LSU can lure in. Question is, can they do it quickly here after this visit? That's the way you'd like things to go, obviously. That's really the extent of it at defensive tackle right now. There could be a name here or there that pops up, but I think that's where they're focusing things. I obviously last week told you, like, at what point are you just adding a guy because he's a guy? Do you think that a guy who played for Grand Valley State last year can help you? And we rolled through all the list of guys that played at tiny schools that can absolutely help, that have been great NFL players. We talked about Jared Verse as well. Like, I'm not suggesting that no one who plays at that level can play in the SEC. I just think there are very few of them. And the thought of plugging up a need on your team with someone from Grand Valley State is concerning to me. But we'll see. It's better than a folding chair, not having anyone and leaving a scholarship on the table. So we'll see what comes next of JVR Suggs. But what we thought, and we heard Brian Kelly say back in January and into spring, is that, you know, we're going to look in the transfer portal and we're going to address a defensive tackle. And said, well, is there any other position you think you want to address? And he was like, no, I think defensive tackle is really it. And that to me was indicative of the way that Brian Kelly feels about how to build a roster. It's that he wants to do it with high school players for the vast majority of a roster. And then, as needed, you take a guy or two here or there, but you don't really want to extend over 4 or 5 ads in the transfer portal every year. He doesn't want to do this the way Lane Kiffin is doing things in Oxford. He wants to do it with the high school kids that LSU can recruit, and he's done a very good job of recruiting them. But I think it's foolish to leave scholarships on the table, and if you're not going to sign 3 or 4 defensive tackles, and you've got some guys that may have some talent that can come in and help at other positions, why not flesh that out? And I think they're doing that. And one of those positions is in the secondary. And the name that is coming up is Wesley Walker. Now, Wesley Walker has been in college for a very long time. Wesley Walker started his collegiate career at Georgia Tech in 2019. It is 2024. It's been a long go for Wesley Walker. He started at Georgia Tech for a couple of years, including the COVID-shortened year. And then after his redshirt sophomore year at Georgia Tech, where he started 8 games, he transferred to Tennessee. Now, he was on that very, very good Tennessee team of a couple of years ago and played in all 13 games, had a couple of starts as a redshirt junior on that team, had 36 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 5 pass breakups, an interception, and a sack on that team that won the Orange Bowl against Clemson. This last season, he played in 10 games and then got hurt and missed two games at the end there due to injury, but he was 4th on Tennessee's team with 53 total tackles. He led the team in tackles against Missouri, had a TFL in that game as well, had a TFL against Kentucky where he had 9 tackles, and had a productive redshirt senior season at Tennessee. He decided after that was over that he was going to transfer, and did, to Louisville. And he went through spring practice at Louisville and said, you know what, I'm good. I'm going to get in the transfer portal again. So he's out at Louisville and is potentially looking at LSU. LSU has a lot of numbers in the secondary. They have a lot of players. How good those players are remains to be seen. I don't know what kind of college player Javian Toviano is going to be. I don't know how good a college player Ashton Stamps is going to be. got a good idea of what Major Burns is. I got a pretty good idea of what Sage Ryan is. But if you're going to add another safety here, I'm all for it, especially a guy who's started games in the ACC and SEC over the last 5 years. This is a guy I'm perfectly willing to take a chance on because Wesley Walker coming in at, he's got good size. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, and he's started a lot of SEC games. So it's not a guy that you're going to come in and light the world on fire. He's not going to be potentially an all-conference level player. He hasn't been that in his years at Georgia Tech or Tennessee, but he's proven he can play in the league. And that's somebody that I'd be willing to add. They've got to find some answers in the secondary. And I think they have a lot of options. I just don't know how rock solid those options are. That's Corey Raymond's job to figure it out. And so it's a guy that's a veteran and has started a lot of games. I'm all for Wesley Walker being added to this LSU football roster. There still needs a defensive tackle. We know that. But the defense is at every level is a bit of a concern at this point. So for me, I'm taking a swing at it. So we'll see if they can get him on a visit. We'll see if they can get him signed in. He's done with his classes there at Louisville. Obviously, spring football well in the rearview mirror. So he's just looking for a landing spot, and I think that there's a real chance that LSU could make a splash there. So there's your news on the transfer portal with LSU football. One defensive tackle not coming. One defensive tackle very well could be coming. Lower level guys. Now you got a two-time transfer that's showing up here in Wesley Walker. We'll see if they can reel him in. But as things break, we'll certainly be there to let you know how it all goes. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.